What if everything you believed about this family was completely wrong? The biggest surprise comes at the very end, so watch closely and subscribe now, because we uncover the stories everyone else misses. You thought you already knew how this story would end, because for years millions of viewers watched what appeared to be a complicated family trying to hold itself together through disagreements, emotional moments, and constant public attention. But what if everything everyone believed was only part of a much larger picture? What if the biggest surprise had been hiding in plain sight, waiting for the exact moment to come into the light? Because according to claims discussed throughout the public conversation surrounding the family, a series of events began raising questions that were impossible to ignore. And once those questions started spreading, they refused to disappear. Instead, every answer seemed to create an even bigger mystery. And before anyone realized it, the focus had shifted away from ordinary family disagreements towards something that many believed could completely change the way people looked at the entire story from the very beginning. What happened next left longtime followers searching through old interviews, forgotten episodes, and public statements, hoping to find clues they had somehow missed, because suddenly every smile, every conversation, and every emotional confession seemed to carry a different meaning than it once had. And that is exactly where the story takes an unexpected turn, because what unfolded was not simply another chapter in a reality television journey. It became a moment that caused people everywhere to ask whether appearances had hidden a far more complicated reality all along. Reports describe a courthouse filled with anticipation, where reporters, legal representatives, and curious onlookers gathered long before the proceedings even began. Nobody seemed completely certain about what they were about to witness, yet everyone sensed something significant was about to happen, and that feeling alone transformed an ordinary morning into one filled with uncertainty. Every door opening, every quiet conversation, and every movement through the hallway only increased the suspense, because no one knew which revelation would appear first or who might finally decide to speak. After years of speculation, as familiar faces arrived, observers noticed the atmosphere felt noticeably different from previous public appearances. Expressions appeared serious, conversations were limited, and every camera remained focused on even the smallest reaction, creating an environment where silence often attracted more attention than words themselves. While questions continued coming from every direction, there were very few immediate answers, and that silence encouraged even more discussion across social media, where thousands of people began offering theories, opinions, and predictions almost instantly. However, what truly captured public attention was not simply the courtroom itself, but the growing belief that long-standing disagreements surrounding family finances, trust, and shared responsibilities might finally receive closer examination. According to the claims presented during the public discussion, concerns had gradually developed over several years, with former family members expressing disappointment over financial decisions, communication, and changing relationships. Those statements encouraged many followers to revisit earlier moments from the television series, wondering whether subtle warning signs had existed long before anyone recognized them. Each newly discussed detail seemed connected to another, creating a chain of questions that only deepened the mystery rather than solving it. And just when it appeared viewers had reached the biggest revelation, another unexpected detail surfaced, pulling everyone further into the story, because this was no longer only about differing perspectives inside a family. It had become a larger conversation about trust, accountability, and promises that some believed had slowly unraveled over time. According to reports presented in the transcript, financial records and business arrangements became central topics of discussion, with different sides presenting very different interpretations regarding how decisions had been made. While some maintained that actions were intended to protect the family during difficult periods, others questioned whether everyone involved truly understood those decisions when they occurred. That disagreement alone created an emotional divide extending far beyond financial matters, because many observers believed the real issue centered on communication, honesty, and whether every family member had been given equal understanding of important choices. As those competing narratives emerged, attention quickly shifted toward earlier seasons of the television series, where conversations that once appeared ordinary suddenly seemed filled with possible hidden meaning. Longtime viewers revisited Emotional scenes comparing old statements with more recent developments, searching for connections they had never considered before. Every rediscovered clip fueled another wave of discussion, and every interview seemed to inspire countless new interpretations across online communities. People analyzed body language, conversations, family meetings, and emotional reactions, hoping to uncover evidence supporting one viewpoint or another. Yet despite endless debate, one question continued remaining unanswered. Was this simply the painful collapse of relationships already under enormous pressure, or had deeper issues existed behind the scenes for much longer than anyone imagined? That question became the driving force behind nearly every conversation, because regardless of personal opinion, everyone wanted to know what would happen next, and the uncertainty itself became impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, according to public reports, legal representatives continued presenting information supporting their respective positions, emphasizing different interpretations of events while observers watched closely. Every document, every statement, and every response seemed capable of changing public perception within moments. Reactions inside the courtroom reportedly reflected the emotional weight surrounding the proceedings as listeners carefully followed each development, recognizing that every new claim had potential to influence the broader narrative outside the courthouse. Social media platforms erupted with non-stop discussion, where supporters, critics, commentators, and content creators examined every available detail, producing countless theories, breakdowns, and reaction videos. Some believed long-suspected questions were finally receiving attention, while others urged caution, reminding audiences that claims presented during legal proceedings deserve careful evaluation before reaching conclusions. That contrast between certainty and uncertainty only increased public fascination, because every update appeared to create two entirely different stories depending upon who interpreted the information and how they understood the available evidence. While emotions continued rising, another important element quietly emerged, one that many viewers initially overlooked. According to several public statements, former family members emphasized that the greatest disappointment was not necessarily connected to money itself, but rather to trust, describing feelings of confusion, heartbreak, and growing distance that had developed gradually over time. Those reflections shifted the emotional center of the conversation, reminding audiences that behind every headline, every legal discussion, and every online debate stood real relationships forever changed by years of complicated experiences. And as those deeply personal perspectives entered public view, many followers found themselves reconsidering everything they previously believed about the family dynamic, because stories once viewed as ordinary disagreements now appeared far more layered than anyone expected. Yet, even after hours of discussion, countless public reactions, and non-stop media coverage, the biggest question still remained unanswered: what evidence would ultimately carry the greatest weight, and whose version of events would people find most believable? That uncertainty lingered over every conversation, encouraging viewers to continue searching for answers, because according to the unfolding narrative, the most significant moments had not yet arrived, and if the early revelations already generated this level of attention, then what waited ahead promised to reshape the entire conversation in ways very few people could have predicted, leaving everyone wondering whether the next chapter would finally provide clarity or introduce an even greater mystery that nobody saw coming. As the attention surrounding the case continued to grow, the emotional pressure inside the courtroom reportedly became even more intense, because every new statement seemed to challenge everything the public thought it understood about the family dynamic. According to the claims discussed during the proceedings, both sides presented completely different explanations, leaving everyone wondering which version of the story would ultimately prove the most convincing. While legal teams focused on financial records, documents, and timelines, many observers noticed that the deeper issue appeared to revolve around broken trust and relationships that had slowly unraveled over many years. Each testimony added another layer to an already complicated situation, with former family members describing moments when they began questioning decisions that once seemed ordinary, while others maintained those choices had been made during difficult circumstances with the intention of protecting the family. As Uncertainty continued to grow. The courtroom remained silent, with every person waiting for the next unexpected revelation, because everyone understood that even a single statement could completely change the direction of the discussion outside the courthouse. Millions of viewers followed every reported update through social media, online videos, and news coverage, where countless theories spread almost instantly. Old interviews resurfaced. Earlier television episodes were examined once again, and conversations that had once appeared harmless suddenly became the subject of endless analysis. As people searched for hidden clues, many longtime followers admitted they were beginning to view familiar moments through a completely different perspective. Yet despite the endless speculation, one question continued hanging over every discussion: was the public finally seeing the complete story? Or was another major surprise still waiting just around the corner? That uncertainty kept audiences completely invested, because every answer seemed to create even more questions, and every new development suggested the biggest revelation had not arrived yet. According to reports presented during the hearing, additional financial documents and business records became important points of discussion, with each side offering different interpretations regarding how family resources had been managed over the years. Some argued these decisions reflected practical planning during uncertain times, while others questioned whether every family member had fully understood those arrangements when they were made. Regardless of which viewpoint people believed, the emotional impact was impossible to ignore, because the conversation had clearly expanded beyond financial matters into something much more personal, involving loyalty, communication, and confidence that had gradually faded over time. Meanwhile, reactions across the internet became stronger with every passing hour as viewers debated every reported detail, creating countless videos, discussions, and predictions about what might happen next. Some believed the truth was finally beginning to emerge, while others urged everyone to wait until every piece of information had been carefully examined before reaching conclusions. That difference of opinion only increased public curiosity, because nobody wanted to miss the moment when the final pieces of the puzzle would finally come together. And just as it seemed the courtroom had already revealed its biggest surprises, another unexpected twist began attracting attention, hinting that the most important chapter of the entire story could still be waiting ahead, leaving everyone wondering whether the next testimony would finally answer the questions people had been asking for years, or introduce an even more surprising development that nobody had anticipated. If you thought this ending was unbelievable, just wait until what happens next. Hit subscribe now, because the biggest stories are only getting started.